It is time for our mock draft backyard football edition.
I really don't want to do this.
Oh my God.
I don't want to
You're
do
going to draft
it.
a running back in the first round.
Trevor Lawrence apparently doesn't like football. We need to put this reaction in context.
If they're not involved in the NFT game right now, they're planning on it.
Because it's Hollywood's biggest night, we figure why not take that to sports seriously and give you a little sports Oscar.
Hi everyone, I'm Mackenzie Salmon and welcome into Sports Seriously. We are a brand new show coming from the USA Today Sports Network. Here we talk about more than just the stats. We're tapping into the conversations fans and reporters are having. We're combining our insights with your fandom. This week, my co-captain is USA Today Entertainment host, avid Bills and Yankees fan, Mr. Ralphie Aversa. How you doing?
Mackenzie, I'm great. I feel like you have the C on your chest. I have the A on my chest. Sports Seriously producers can't believe we've already referenced hockey to start this show. Nonetheless, great to be alongside you.
We can't wait. We're off to a great start. Now, Ralphie, every week we like to start off the show with something we call Three Things. It's a segment where we take a closer look at the topics sports fans are having in the sports world. First thing this week, one story that is dominating the news, our front pager this week, the sports world reacting to the news of Officer Derek Chauvin. He was found guilty in the murder of George Floyd. The majority of messages we saw emphasized accountability, but also reminded everyone there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But Ralphie, there were a few tone-deaf messages we saw this week, like the tweet from the Raiders account that said, "I can breathe." Last week, Ralphie, Annalise, and I talked about the sports world and athletes in general using their platforms to bring light to subjects like this. This one, unfortunately, missed the mark.
Yeah, let's take the Raiders aside just for a second in that tweet that you referenced, Mackenzie, because, I do think that when leagues and teams and players use their platform not to talk necessarily about political issues. This isn't Democrat, Republican. We're not coming off of an election, but talk about racial and social issues. I think that's a positive thing. And I also think it's positive when these leagues and these teams look out for the welfare and health of their players. We've criticized leagues for not doing that in the past, and it seems like they've learned their lessons, which is great. But again, there are some instances like you referenced with the Raiders, and obviously that tweet, certainly when it's amplified by the likes of a LeBron James, it's going to come to light, and it certainly misses the mark.
Transitioning to our second thing, definitely not something on the level of the first thing, but something that is worth note and 100% a big fail. Soccer fans, Ralphie, were stunned by the news that some of the best teams in the world attempted to create a Super Europe Soccer League. So circumventing the established Champions League as we know it. Frankly, in my opinion, it was an attempt to destroy the foundation of soccer. There was immediate outcry from players, coaches, and then within days, Super League was axed.
Yeah, Mackenzie, this was a money grab straight through, and European football fans saw through that. I thought our Nancy Armour said it best. It was American greed at its finest. And look, as American sports fans and as people who cover sports here in the States, we weren't really that surprised by it initially because we've seen it, whether it's, the extra game in the NFL schedule, the expanded MLB playoffs, college conferences rearranging for what? For TV contracts, for money. That's what this sadly comes back to. However, I was pleasantly surprised that this didn't go through. And again, too, speaking to that American greed, you look at some of the ownership groups that own these football clubs that wanted to be a part of the Super League, whether we're talking about Stan Kroenke, who owns the Rams, Fenway Sports Group, John Henry and company. Not surprised, but pleasantly surprised again that it's not going through.
This would have had a direct impact on the U.S. national team because their best players are on those 12 teams. And if this were to have happened, they would have been banned from World Cup competition. Last but not least, our third thing, we need to put this reaction in context. So Trevor Lawrence apparently doesn't like football. In an interview with Sports Illustrated, the NFL draft prospect said he doesn't play with a huge chip on his shoulder, is what he was quoted saying. He was immediately blasted for not being motivated. How do you feel about that, Ralphie?
Yeah, I feel that this is great first take fodder. I feel that this is awesome for Colin Cowherd, but there's no substance here. Let's not look at a quote that the guy gives to Sports Illustrated, and let's look instead at his resume. And you know what his resume says, Mackenzie? That he's probably going to be the #1 pick in the NFL draft. And you know what? Not only does he recognize that, and do the Jaguars recognize that, but the Jaguar fans also recognize that, as evidenced by this week when they found Trevor and his fiance's wedding registry, bought up everything on the registry, and good on the couple, they're going to donate it to charity.
Yeah, and Ralphie, as you know, sports fans can be irrational. But just like me and you have a life outside of our job, so do these athletes. He's literally married now. He's gonna be still showing up to work. He's still gonna be throwing the ball. He's got life outside of football. And just like you mentioned, that's not even gonna matter next week when he's drafted #1 overall by Jacksonville. But speaking of the draft, coming up next, we have our draft experts, Lorenzo Reyes and Steven Ruiz, who take their mock drafts to the backyard. So stay tuned. All right, guys, it is time for our mock draft backyard football edition. So here's how it's going to work. Steven Ruiz gets the even picks in teams. Lorenzo Reyes gets the odd picks in teams. And both are going to alternate their picks in this mock draft. So after the first round mock draft is done, from each of their 16 selections, Steven and Lorenzo have to pick their 7-on-7 backyard football team. And a key note, the players have to be able to play on both sides. All right, so welcome to the first part, the mock draft. Starting off with the #1 pick, Jacksonville Jaguars. Gentlemen, go ahead.
Let's not waste any time here. I mean, it's Trevor Lawrence.
All right, I'm going to go with Zach Wilson for the Jets, even though that's not the best backyard football pick. I would have picked Justin Fields, but I'm going to stay true to the board because I'm a fair player.
All right, I'm going to go with Justin Fields. There's been a lot of smoke about Mac Jones here. All right, with Denver, I told myself I wasn't going to do
Why are
this.
you struggling?
Take Mac Jones. Just do it.
Because I don't want to take Mac Jones. I do not want to take Mac Jones. I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to have to take Mac Jones. For my own purposes, this little backyard thing, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, I like where I'm at. You should be worried a little bit.
Yeah, for Philadelphia, I feel like they need like a marriage counselor in there right now more than a football player.
15th pick.
Yeah, this is a hard one for me. I feel like in their ideal scenario, Mac Jones falls to them, which is
You really love Mac Jones.
You love
Well,
Mac Jones.
I feel like I was gonna have to pick him there. Honestly, I was hoping I could wait until 15.
When you have a guy who could be a top 12 pick, like you don't pass on him.
Speaking of collecting defensive backs, Steven, you're killing me, man. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do on defense here, but
Yeah.
I actually hacked
you
into
better watch
your
out.
computer.
But I'm
My
like-
whole goal is to ruin your team.
I feel like they really need a running back.
Oh my God.
I don't want to
You're
do
gonna draft
it.
a running back in the first round.
I don't want to do this.
Do it.
Lorenzo's doing it.
I'm surprised you didn't try to give them Mac Jones again.
They could use him too.
Ooh, the Bears.
The Bears.
Can
The
go in
20th.
yeah, so many different directions. Can I draft them a new GM?
Just need help everywhere, really.
Everywhere.
Like, so,
Literally any position.
honestly, they probably could fill an entire team with draft picks. It's kind of crazy that we're covering a draft where like I was watching these guys, their parents play, their fathers play. So
You're washed, dude. You're washed up.
yeah, I know.
All right, y'all. It is now time for the backyard football team selections. So now that you've got your 16 picks, it is time for you to pick your Super 7, who is going to be on your backyard squad. And remember, every position, they have to be able to play both ways. Steven, you go first.
All right, my team is named after who I feel is the heart and soul of this exercise we're doing, and that's Mac Jones, even though he's on Lorenzo's team.
Lorenzo's
technically.
favorite person.
Right. My first pick looks like a guy that was playing backyard football like a month ago, and that's Zach Wilson. He's the only quarterback I took, so that's the only option I had. He's very small, so I'm worried
Good
about
job.
him.
Okay.
For running back, I'm going with Rondell Moore. He's really a receiver, but I didn't draft a running back in the first round because I understand that's not what teams doing that right now in the NFL. My linemen, I'm going to go Penei Sewell and Micah Parsons. Parsons was a defensive end in high school, so I think he fits that bill. And then my receivers are Kyle Pitts, Devontae Smith, and J.C. Horn. I think all those guys are just super athletic and can just create mismatches all over the field.
Lorenzo?
All right, so my team name. This might be a throwback to my undergrad days, maybe a throwback to my Latino heritage here, but it's the Lorenzo 7 Locos. We got 7 on the team, so I mean, Trevor's my quarterback. I'm going to have him on the D-line, or at the very least, he can knock down Zach Wilson's passes because he's short, so we'll roll with that. Steven, you messed up, man. I'm throwing Justin Fields, my second quarterback, as my tight end flex, and he's going to play linebacker. Here's my thinking. It's backyard. We can do whatever we want. I'm just going to line them up all over the field. You have no idea where these guys are going to be. Like, you don't even know what's going to happen. Who's going to throw the ball? So,
Only one of them can throw the ball, though, at once.
yeah, but think about the mismatches, man. Think about the mismatches. I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. He'll play DB. Running back, I like Jalen Waddle. Figure he could be like a Tavon Austin, but like way better. So we'll roll with that. Offensive line, I'm going to have Christian Darrisaw, and then he'll play D-line. Rashad Bateman will be a wide receiver DB. And then I need some defense here. Like, I literally don't have a defensive player. I mean, my team's, I'm gonna rock you on offense, Steven, but like, we're basically like the Big 12 over here. We're gonna put up points. You're gonna score on us, to be clear. But if we just get that one stop, it's curtains.
See, this is what's going to happen. You say you're going to put Trevor Lawrence on the line, which means I have Penei Sewell blocking him. I feel like that's going to be, and it's not going to end well for Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he can deal with Penei Sewell all day long. So you might need that second quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, think about backyard football. Like, the linemen don't really do anything anyway. I'm going to put Trevor and Justin in the backfield at the same time with Jalen Waddle behind them. Like, think about what we could do there, man. And then Jamar Chase is on the outside. How are you stopping that?
We picked a lot of quarterbacks and wide receivers, people that can't tackle, score a billion points.
Justin Fields can tackle. You see the size of that guy? I acknowledge. Defense isn't my strong suit. But baby, I'm telling you, we're going to light up the scoreboard.
The only thing that stresses me a little bit, Lorenzo, is your lack of defense. That's the only thing that I'm struggling with.
Mac, don't do this to me.
The only reason I think I'm going to have to go with Steven is because his team has defense.
If you would have picked Mac Jones, you might have won. That's your fault.
No way.
Sorry, Lorenzo.
It's fun. I'm a little upset, but it was a good time.
Yes, and I just Venmo'd Mackenzie for picking. Thank you.
Up next, we got a big money trend happening with sports that's got guys like Tom Brady, Gronk, and other huge athletes in the mix. They're called NFTs. Ralphie, I've already had my coffee, my pre-workout for the day, but I still really don't think I understand NFTs fully.
All right, well, thankfully, as they like to say, we got a guy. We know a guy. He's a great guy. We'll drop the boom on you with our buddy Chris Boom Baca, USA Today Sports Now reporter. He's got the 411 on NFTs, and he's going to explain them to us and you next.
So, Ralphie, you cover everything from entertainment to sports, and NFTs are taking over both spaces. Sports talk here. I'm still kind of scratching my head about what these even are.
Yeah, same. It turns out our team at Just the Facts put together a fantastic explainer about what NFTs are. Take a look.
This digital meme of a flying Pop-Tart cat was an internet sensation back in 2011. It's now considered a type of crypto art and sold for almost $600,000. It may sound crazy to pay that much for something you can find online for free, but people are still dishing out millions for these unique digital collector's items, known as NFTs. NFT stands for non-fungible token, which means something that's not interchangeable. These two $20 bills are worth the same amount, but these two NFTs are not. Think of them as concert tickets. Each ticket contains specific information, like your seat number and date of the show, so you can't trade one for another. NFTs can represent anything from videos to tweets to music albums, but the NFT isn't the item itself. It's actually a piece of code, similar to a serial number, that identifies where the item is and who owns it.
That was super helpful, but I definitely want to hear more. Joining us is our USA Today Sports Now reporter, Chris Boom Baca. His favorite mascot is Bucky the Badger, who's email buddies with Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban. We'll get into that a little bit later. And he's been covering NFTs for us.
As a whole for the sports landscape right now, what's going on here with NFTs?
Yeah, so as my guy Cubes told me, he's a big believer in this, intellectual property, converting that into non-fungible tokens, obviously, and he sees that as a way of the future for sure. And so do a lot of other sports leagues in America. If they're not involved in the NFT game right now, they're planning on it. And there are several leagues that have talks down the line with other companies like the NBA that produced NBA Top Shot, which has really driven a lot of the sports NFT conversation here. That's an example of a league that has an official revenue sharing agreement and things like that. But other athletes have gotten involved. Tom Brady released some NFTs. The Mannings released some NFTs. Patrick Mahomes has NFTs. You see guys coming out in the NBA draft doing their announcements, making one-of-one NFTs, capitalizing on that rarity. That kind of seems to be a driving force in the NFT market as it is in traditional collectors, sports memorabilia, art collecting, spaces that we've seen before. It's definitely an interesting time to be building on these blockchains and things like that.
I'm very curious, is there a barrier for entry? Like, is this just for high-end collectors right now? Who's got the money for this? And who's actually using it besides just the athletes? Can everyday people use this?
Yeah, so everyday people can definitely get involved, and that has become more common as We've seen people able to buy with credit cards. For a while, it needed to be kind of through your Coinbase crypto wallet, and that's obviously a barrier to entry that a lot of people don't have right now. But as that becomes more popular, people are still getting involved there, and through traditional consumership like a credit card, for example. But as far as those rare examples I referenced earlier from some of the athletes and the big ticket items, those do come with quite the price tag attached to them. A LeBron James Top Shot moment went for $208,000, I believe, on the marketplace that they have created there. And then a different one where he's kind of like dunking in a way that Kobe Bryant did. A lot of people made that comparison, and it was only like a month after Kobe passed away. That one recently went for auction at, I think it was $367,000 or something like that. And the thing there that you have to keep in mind again is that there are only 59, I believe, minted moments of that dunk. So only 59 highlights, if you want to call it, through this exists.
So NFTs are here to stay, is what you're saying?
I think so. I think so. A lot of smart people definitely think so too. I think that it's going to come in waves. We saw it with things like Bitcoin, for example. There was that first wave a few years ago, and then it went away for a little bit, and now it's the only thing people talk about anymore sometimes. As teams, organizations, athletes find more and more ways to make it a greater part of the fan engagement, to give it utility to a person, beyond just saying, hey, I digitally own this. I think that's where we'll start to see it become more and more part of like a daily sports fan's life.
So transitioning from the ABCs of the NFTs, we are going to be shifting to honoring some sports stars whose names do deserve to be on a marquee. Ralphie, as you know, the Oscars are this weekend, and in the spirit of the awards show, we are deciding to do our own spin sports style. And just like with any award show, you can't go without at least one wardrobe change. So Ralphie and I brought our very best.
You look great. I obviously threw on probably the same tux I will wear to cover the Oscars this weekend. And yeah, because it's Hollywood's biggest night, we figure why not take that to sports seriously and give you a little sports Oscars. We'll have a number of different categories with a number of different nominees from some of the biggest sports figures and sports moments over the past year. And thanks to, of course, the staff here at Sports Seriously, along with our USA Today sports reporters, some of whom voted on these categories, we'll be able to crown winners right here, just like they're going to do Sunday night at the Oscars.
Now we are going to start off our awards show with the best female in a leading role. So the nominees for best female in a leading role are, starting off, Naomi Osaka. She won the 2020 US Open, 2021 Australian Open. Our second nominee, Paige Beckers, NCAA Women's Tourney winner. Thirdly, we've got Breanna Stewart. She came back from the 2019 Achilles injury to help her team capture the 2020 WNBA title. Our next nominee is Weili Zhang. She defended her starweight title against Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 248 in what many called the fight of the year in 2020. Finally, our last nominee for best female in a leading role is Ko Jin Young, who is a world-ranked #1 women's golfer. Now, the winner of the best female in a leading role goes to, drum roll please, Naomi Osaka. Congrats.
And very well deserved, obviously, what she's done, especially when you consider, the GOAT, Serena Williams, still in tennis and still competing in these majors. Obviously, she hasn't gotten back to hoisting those trophies yet, at least in a few years. But the way Osaka has competed and succeeded certainly should be celebrated. So congratulations to Naomi. And with that, let's now go after best female in a leading role. Let's go to best male in a leading role, Mackenzie. The nominees are LeBron James, of course, coming off of the Lakers NBA championship. Tom Brady, speaking of GOATs, who, of course, won the Super Bowl with the Bucks. Dustin Johnson, world-ranked #1 golfer, coming off the 2020 Masters win from last year and the PGA Championship. Mookie Betts, yeah, he finished second in the 2020 NL MVP voting and led the Dodgers to their World Series win last fall. And Novak Djokovic, the Joker. Yeah, he won his third consecutive Australian Open. He's the world-ranked #1 tennis player. And the winner is Tom Brady, TB12, who pretty much won it all, right? I mean, it's amazing, you know, when he was up doing the whole Patriot Way thing with Big Bill Belichick, he was kind of like this villain, and I feel like it was almost like a redemption tour for him in Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians, a much more likable head coach. Gronk, who doesn't love him, I guess. So congratulations to Tom Brady.
I hope I'm like Tom Brady at 43. I truly hope.
You and I both.
I know. Up next, we have our best original screenplay, aka our best storybook moment from this past year. These are the moments that we like to think of as, this would be a really cool movie if they made this. Starting off, our first nominee for Best Original Screenplay goes to Hideki Matsuyama, who won the Masters. He became the first Japanese man to win a major golf title. Secondly, we have Mr. Tom Brady again, who won the Super Bowl at age 43. Best Original Screenplay, I think he's been in all of these, Ralphie, if I'm not mistaken, but rightfully so. Thirdly, we've got Alex Smith, who returned to play after his gruesome injury. Awesome moment to see him come back from that. Next, we have Sarah Fuller, who became the first female to play in and score points in a Power 5 conference football game. So our winner for Best Screenplay goes to Miss Sarah Fuller. Congratulations, girl. You are making waves. We hope to see you continue to do so.
Yeah, and again, especially with what college athletics has gone through over the past year, and certainly the reckoning that's happened there, but the way that the student athletes have also had to navigate the pandemic. A big congratulations to Sarah. Okay, Sunday night at the Oscars, the big award of the night is Best Picture. So of course we have a Best Picture here at Sports Seriously. We love great stories. We love great visuals. And these pictures certainly say more than 1,000 words. So the nominees for Best Picture are, I can only imagine, Mackenzie, what these two are talking about here. Tom Brady, of course, a nominee again, he and Gronk after winning the Lombardi Trophy. The second nominee, and you know, it was cute at first, but I'm just, the cardboard cutouts, I can't wait to see real fans back in the stands. Our third nominee for Best Picture, Roger Goodell in his basement. We've been in our basement, our living rooms, pretty much anywhere we could set up a camera trying to make things happen here this past year throughout the pandemic. And our final picture is from the final round of the PNC Championship a few months ago. Yes, the great Tiger Woods and his son Charlie, both donning his signature Tiger Red on the final day of the tournament. What a cool photo that is, a great father-son moment. And the winner of Best Picture is, and of course, probably shouldn't come as a surprise that it is in fact Tiger and Charlie taking home the prize there. A great photo, and of course, especially in light of everything that's happened with Tiger, we send our well wishes to him and his continued recovery. So Tiger Woods and his son Charlie there, who are competing in the PNC Championship, winning Best Picture. Mackenzie, obviously a big week, couple weeks ahead here for the National Football League. What's coming up next on Sports Seriously next week?
All eyes are going to be on the NFL draft. Our show is going to be stacked. Obviously, we're going beyond the X's and O's. We are not just covering the first round draft picks, but we're going to be up close and personal with the rookies themselves. I'm looking forward to watching it and covering it. I'm sure you are too, but thank you so much for being my co-captain this week. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And thank you guys for being here with us. Until next week, take it easy. Hey sports fans, if you want to see more videos like this, check out some of our other ones right here. And if you like what you see, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more from USA Today Sports.